So I've been playing and collecting Magic the Gathering for over 20 years at this point, and it wasn't until today that I actually received a fake card. There's a diabolic intent from a trader slash seller. And right after opening it, it just felt kind of weird to me. It just looked a little off, so I did my normal inspections, and what do you know? It's a fake card. Now, with how much Magic has changed since I've started playing, whether it's the print quality or the card stock or country of origin, whatever, there are a couple of things that have remained consistent with Magic cards that you can check to make sure your cards are legitimate. Now, counterfeits are becoming very, very good. Honestly, even though I suspected there might be something fishy going on here, a lot of the initial keys checked out. It looked good. It looked like a very good card, which is why you can't just rely on one test. Now, I'm going to show some pictures on the screen of the initial inspection that I did for this card. So it had the Hol Stamp. The Hol Stamp looked good. It wasn't blurry like a couple of the Hol Stamp fakes that we've seen the last couple of years. So the one thing, though, that keyed me off and made me feel weird about this, and you can see the picture, is that the Wizards text print that's inside the Planeswalker symbol, it said Wizards, and I was like, okay, this looks pretty good. But if you compare that to a legitimate foil stamp, the word Wizards almost looks like a run-on, never-ending sentence. There's no spacing between the words Wizards. It's just Wizard, 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 all the way across. It looks like a continual line of text with no spaces. This one had those spaces in, so I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And the new counterfeit stamp shows that counterfeiters are becoming even better, even including that Wizards text in there. They're still just not doing it correctly. So the next thing I want to look at is just the black text and the black symbols all over the card. So the text is actually very, very clear, and the symbols up here are very, very clear. What I mean by that is that it has a very sharp outline. None of the black is made from dots, right? They're very sharp lines, and you can tell by using a loop or something like that. Now, I looked at the set symbol because I said, well, we need to check everything, right? And here's the next picture. The set symbol is blurry. It's not a sharp black line like the text or the symbol up here. So again, compare with similar year, similar set, and you'd expect to see very sharp black almost anywhere that it's used. So that was the next thing that keyed me off. Now, probably the most important and the one test that seems to remain impossible for counterfeiters to duplicate is what's called the green dot test. Now, here's a picture on the screen. If you zoom in on the green dot, not only should the black outlining of the green dot have a specific pattern, which this one lacks, but inside the green dot, you should be able to identify what looks like a backwards red 7 in the white area of the green dot. Now, this one had red dots there, but they were scattered all over the place. There's a ton of them there, and there's no real pattern going on. So it seems like they're getting close by adding red to the green dot, but they can't actually reproduce the red 7 on legitimate cards. Now, if you look at any Magic card from the very beginning of time, if we're talking alpha, beta, all the way to the most recent set, whatever has been released, every single one of the legitimate cards will have this red 7 in the green dot. This one does not. Another test that I've found recently is the straight line on the H on the back of the card where it says Magic the Gathering. So the picture I'm showing on the screen, not only is a lot of the black very wobbly and dotty, but on that edge of the H as it comes down, we'd expect to see a clear, sharp line. Check any of your Magic cards that you have with a loop. Zoom in, you'll see there's a very clear, distinct black sharp line on the edge of that H there where it drops down to the tail. Finally, I want to show you some other examples that I was able to find online. This person on Reddit was actually talking about a jeweled Lotus that they had received, I think either through purchase or trade, and they also did a comparison here. So you can see the two examples of the hollow foil stamps here. On the right, it clearly says proxy. On the left, it clearly says real. And you can kind of see on the left what I was talking about, how even though there's only a little bit of text there, the word Wizards is just completely blended together, like it's just one run-on sentence there. Whereas on the right, you see again the clear sort of break of Wizards, break, Wizards, break, Wizards, where they're getting very good at reproducing the stamp, but it's still not correct. So you do have to look for that. Here's another example of something that sort of keyed me off that felt kind of weird when I took it out of its package today. You can't see it on my example, but it basically looks like two white layers sandwiched with a black layer in the middle. And I'm going to put a picture on the screen where I can show you that jeweled Lotus example that someone was talking about on Reddit also has that thick black sort of sandwich in the middle of the two white pieces of paper. Now I went again and compared it to the same year, same set, everything like that. I don't have any other cards that look as distinctly separated as this one. So that's another key that, well, this is not legitimate. So really quick, let's run through a couple other things that you can check. So the picture I'm showing you on the screen right now is the bottom left-hand side of the back of the card where it says Deck Master. Now, if you look at these lines, what you're going to expect, the outside boxes, the outlines of that Deck Master word right there, you're going to expect to, on the top, see a clear, sharp black line. The one right below it is a little wobbly, and then again, a clear black sharp line, and then the fourth line, right, the outermost bottom of that box there is going to again be wobbly. So it's clear, wobbly, clear, wobbly. Check for that. Again, here's an example of a set symbol that is clear and sharp with the black all the way around, and you can tell that there's no dotting going on here. This is a real card. Now I'm going to share with you all the things that do not indicate whether your card is real or not. Again, Magic has been around for a long time. They've changed, suppliers, producers, everything, where things are printed. There's so much variation in cards, even in the same pack, that it's hard to go just based on looks alone whether your card is legitimate or not. So the first thing I want to do is talk about saturation and sort of color shift. Now here's an example on the screen of a Shivan Devastator that I have, right? A nice dragon. Right away you should be able to tell that this is way oversaturated. There's way too much black in this, right? It's very, very dark. This is one of the reasons I like this card. But I remember opening this card and the whole pack was just, it was very dark cards. So again, color saturation, a lot of black or some bleed, anything like that, any variation in the color or the shades is not indicative of whether your card is real or not. You still have to do the other tests we talked about, like checking the lines, checking the green dot. Now this picture shows a dramatic difference in where a card is printed. So on the left-hand side in the picture, we have US printed cards, and on the right-hand side, we have Japanese printed cards. Both of these cards are 100% legitimate. I remember opening these Japan-produced Brothers War cards and looking at them and going, God, these are quite grainy. Like, am I sure this is legitimate? Absolutely, because I bought the entire box. I bought it from my local store, and almost all of the other checks that determine if a card's legitimate check out. But the print quality is crazy different. It's very, very grainy. You can tell just by looking at it at a normal distance, something feels off about it. But the cards are legitimate. So if your card looks grainy or it looks very sharp, again, that's not enough to determine if it's real or not. Both of these cards in this picture are real. Here's another example of the saturation. The Thalia and the Gitrog monster on the left look way desaturated. Is this a real card? And then the Harness Infinity on the right-hand side looks totally normal. Both of these are legitimate cards. So really quick to wrap up, I've got my little list here. The things that you can't use to tell if your card is legitimate. Color variation, which includes things like saturation, color shift, and shade. Grain or the rosette pattern. These don't mean anything because there's so many different producers and countries of origin. Doesn't mean anything. The foil stamp alone. I thought this card looked good, but upon further inspection, the foil stamp is fake. So the existence of a foil stamp alone is not enough. Clear, solid black text. This also fits that. The clear, solid black text, whether it's on the front or the symbol, is still not enough. Now, card texture. My card's really waxy. This one's really waxy, but I've had some that are waxy on the back, rough on the front. Some feel very dry, like almost like a sandpaper, feel kind of coarse, hard to get in and out of sleeves. That alone does not determine if your card is fake or not. It's crazy. It can be waxy, smooth, grainy, grippy, whatever. That doesn't mean anything. And another thing that I've been seeing a lot is people doing the light test. I don't think the light test has worked for quite a while, and the light test definitely isn't going to tell you anything on your own. Again, it always comes down to check that green dot and check some of the other text. The H, I haven't seen the H properly reproduced, and these lines down here on the Deckmaster box, I have not also seen those properly reproduced. So you have to do multiple types of authentication. But in general, as long as you see that red 7 and the green dot, you're probably okay. But do the other tests as well. If you have questions, put them in the comments. Hope this was helpful. It's too bad we don't have a super high resolution, gallery of all cards from all sets printed and what their countries and everything. But for now, just stay wary, check your cards, and you won't get fooled. Thanks for watching. See you again.